why the worst people manifest their best realities, why that one person who shouldn't be living such a great life is living such a great life. Well, it all becomes easier to understand and conceptualize when you realize one thing: karma does not exist. Remove the idea of karma from your mind. At most, it's just a coping mechanism. If you look at it from an objective standpoint, right? If you look at reality from an objective standpoint, you will literally see that the natural mechanics of the universe do not abide by any sort of karmatic system. There is no reward system counting whether you've been a good person today or a bad person today. Quick examples of this: fire and gravity. Fire and gravity show no partiality. If a baby was to jump off of a building, it would meet the same fate as a serial killer jumping off of a building. They would both die. If a baby was to be burned by a fire, it would die. If a serial killer was to be burned by a fire, they would die. There is no such thing as karma. This is even extrapolated in the Bible. In Matthew chapter 5, verses 45, it is said that ye may be the children of your Father who is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and the unjust. And also in Acts 10:34, Peter said, in truth, I perceive that God shows no partiality. There is no sort of karmatic system. Good things can happen to bad people. Bad things can happen to good people. Okay, so what is it then that decides whether someone lives a good life or a bad life? We're going to get into that soon, later on. Not now. Don't worry, I will give you what you want. You're just not going to get it just yet. Because first, we have to understand what I really mean when I'm talking about the quote-unquote worst people. Now, bad people, if you look at it from an objective standpoint, again, bad people are really just someone that isn't like you. If you think about it from an objective standpoint, a bad person is just someone that is not like you. It doesn't have to be someone that's extremely evil or immoral. A bad person to you is just someone that is not like you. So, before I begin to talk more about a bad person, I'm going to tell you what a good or nice person is. A good or nice person is someone who is relatable, someone who knows their place, someone who is humble, someone who helps others even to their own detriment, and finally, someone who cares about whether they make other people feel bad. Now, let's break these down and help us understand why being a quote-unquote good person is actually a form of self-sabotage. Cool. So, like I said, a good person has to be quote-unquote humble. Now, in order for you to live in your desired reality, it requires confidence. But one thing that people forget is that confidence comes at a sacrifice. It comes at a cost. Having confidence comes at the cost of others seeing you as an arrogant individual. Having confidence comes at the cost of others seeing you as an arrogant and egotistical individual. That is something that you have to accept. Next, knowing your place. Now, someone who quote-unquote knows their place will never make it as far as a person who doesn't allow the world to tell them who they are and they tell themselves who they are. Someone who is delusional will make it much, much further than a person who allows for themselves to be put in their place by the world instead of putting themselves in their desired place by themselves. Next, helping others to their own detriment. Are you seeing how this is even going to align with what I'm going to talk about next, which is obviously one of the previous points I mentioned of the traits of a good person. Like I said though, helping others even to their own detriment. Helping others to your own detriment just leads to what? Your own detriment is literally in the 1 point itself. You have got to help yourself before you can help anybody else. You've got to learn to be selfish. Now, you're probably thinking, but if I'm going to be a selfish person, people aren't going to like me, blah, blah, blah. If I'm a selfish person, this guy's going to do that to me, this guy's going to do that to me, this person's going to say this person's going to say that. Yeah, they are going to do that. But you're going to understand why you shouldn't care about that in the next point. Because the next point that I'm going to mention is the fact that good/nice people also care about making other people feel bad. Now, one thing that you have to realize is that the cost of shining, right? The cost of displaying your brightness, displaying your light, is that you remind people of their own darkness. That is a fucking gem. Write that shit down. You displaying progress, prosperity, confidence, power will result in people being reminded of their own lack of confidence, their lack of prosperity, their lack of power. And then as a result, you begin to show them aspects of themselves that they don't like. And as a result of you shining, they see their own darkness. Now, this is where the nice person comes into play here. The nice person, when they begin to shine, they will dim their light just so that the other person does not see their own darkness. And then that then leads to that quote unquote good person or nice person never ever reaching the life that they want to live, never ever reaching their desired reality. And there you go. Just like that, there you have it. So I'm just trying to make sure that I've said every single point here that is relevant in regards to all of the previous points I mentioned about what a nice person is, like the traits of a nice person. Being humble. I'm pretty sure I mentioned all of them, right? Yeah, okay, cool. I mentioned enough. Anyway, enough. So, now with this in mind, what do you think I'm going to tell you? When it comes to my channel and the videos that I make, all of it is literally just about living in the desired reality that you want to live in. Being the desired person that you want to become. And that is literally it. So, what I'm now going to tell you is to quote unquote be a bad person. Now, evidently, what I'm saying is not be an evil and immoral person who's doing people dirty, scamming people, robbing people, whatever. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying that you should not allow other people to dim your lights. You should not allow your greatness to you should not allow your greatness to be stunted or your growth to be stunted due to the fact that you are too worried about what the other person is going to think in relation to their previous perception of the old you. That you doesn't exist anymore. And if they want to uphold and keep that perception of the old you, oh no, I missed the point actually. I missed the point. And that is the point of not being able to relate. Right. Nice people are also people that you can relate to. And when you cannot relate to someone anymore, you begin to disconnect from them in a way. for example, a great example, there's a clip, right? This clip's been out for time, but it's a clip of Aiden Ross, Drake, and I think Ben Dodon. I don't know what the guy's real name is. I'm just gonna call him Ben for now. And in that clip, I think they were playing a betting game on stake. Cool. So they win the round of that specific game, and Drake makes, I think it was $400,000 US. Okay. Now, after winning that money, Drake then says, well, it's not bad. It's all right. It's okay. Not bad. And then Aiden Ross then says, wait, Drake, that's 400K. That's a crazy amount. That's insane. That's actually all right. And then, cool. No one in that clip said anything wrong or whatever. But the caption of that clip, the creator who posted that clip, the caption of that clip was, well done to Aiden Ross for bringing Drake back to reality. Well done to Aiden Ross for keeping Drake in line, I guess. Now, are you seeing what I'm even trying to, I guess, extrapolate from that one clip here? What I'm saying is that people that you can't relate to typically are people that you don't like. For example, one thing that I could, I guess, talk about is how I've seen examples of people who will see others who are rich and then despise them for being rich, right? That's just a quick example. Or someone who will see someone who's wealthy but hasn't earned that wealth themselves and was rather born into that wealth and then hate them for it. Oh, he's a Nepo baby, is that what you say? Nepo baby? He's a Nepo baby. He's daddy's kid, whatever. Daddy's money? Yeah, that's it. Daddy's money. Things of that nature. And then you begin to hate the person for them because you can't relate to them. All right? They didn't struggle in their childhoods like you did. So then you can't relate to them. So then as you can't relate to them, you just don't really like them. Now, a bad person is someone who just really doesn't give a fuck about whether you can relate to them or not. And this also, it all intertwines really. It's all in connection, because this bad person doesn't care about the fact that you can't relate to them. It's also going to be someone who doesn't care about them making you feel bad by shining. They are just going to shine because that is what they are. And they don't care if you don't like that. Now, let's move on. Okay, so I've extrapolated to you good people, bad people. Now, I didn't really entirely, actually, no, I kind of did explain why good people, bad people do live in great realities, do have amazing lives. And I did say, the first point that I mentioned was about reality not having any sense of, I guess, morality. There is no sort of karma system. Okay. Cool. Now, if there is no sort of karma system, then what is it that's actually perpetuating people having a good life, regardless of what type of person they are? It is simply one thing, and that is just self-confidence, really. Self-confidence and conviction in their ability to essentially control themselves and indirectly control their reality. Because life is not a Disney movie, okay? There's even one example that people like to say to sort of, I guess, conceptualize the idea of life being extremely moral and life being a Disney movie, right? They always say the bullies in school, right? The guy who was always bullying the other kids in school, that guy never makes it in life. He's never successful later on in life. When the truth is, you'll actually find out that in a lot of cases it's actually the opposite. And the reason why isn't because he's an evil person. This is also me not saying that life rewards evil things. Like I said, the main point is that life rewards conviction, confidence, and audacity. Now, the bully in school, right? He or she had high levels of confidence, high levels of audacity. The good person or the nice person that was getting bullied in school, They didn't have the self-confidence to stand up for themselves. They didn't have the audacity to bully the person back. There you go. Now, cool. So if all that life rewards is certainty, conviction, audacity, and I guess power, really, how do we then, I guess, use that information practically? Because that's the point of these type of videos. Well, it's simple, really. Just increase your self-confidence and accept the fact that you are different, from other people, because greatness breeds attention, and attention naturally breeds judgment. That is something that you're just going to have to realize and accept, because the cost of confidence comes as being seen as arrogant. The cost of power comes at the cost of being intimidating. Nothing in this life comes without cost. You cannot take a breath without first giving one, and you cannot fill a cup without first emptying it. That is really it. How you build that confidence? Simple. Do the things that you know you should be doing, and don't do the things that you know you shouldn't be doing. That is really it. Now, that is personal to every person, because to one person, smoking weed might be a vice. To another person, it's just something they do after they finish work for the day. To another person, sex might be a vice. To another, it's just something they do. It's not taking control over their entire life. And yeah, that is really it. That is really it. I'm gonna add one more thing though, in regards to self-confidence, and that is treating your word as law. Anything that you tell yourself you're going to do, you do. Ask yourself this question: how many times have you treated your word that you've given to someone else more important than the word that you give to yourself? How many times have you told someone you're going to do something and then been so adamant on actually getting it done because you've told someone else you're going to do it, but when you tell yourself you're going to do something, you just fucking laze about. You don't do it. Now, the problem there is that you're giving other people's word more power over your own, and that needs to change. That is all for today's video. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys next week. Bye bye.